The moment the HOA banned yard art in our neighborhood, people thought it meant no more metal sculptures, no funny garden signs, and maybe no giant flamingos near mailboxes, but nobody expected the entire community to lose its mind over a single red button sitting quietly on a pedestal with one tiny sign that simply said, "Do not push." And honestly, the craziest part was not the button itself. It was watching grown adults completely destroy their own self-control, trying not to press it. My name is Trevor Hayes, and I live in one of those perfectly organized suburban neighborhoods where every lawn looks identical. Every flower bed follows HOA color guidelines, and every mailbox somehow feels emotionally judged. Most of the time, I stayed out of HOA drama because I work from home and prefer peace over arguments, but our HOA president, Denise Parker, made peace almost impossible. Before this story gets crazier, make sure to like and subscribe to Karen's Stories Daily, because this might be one of the funniest HOA meltdowns I have ever witnessed in my life. Denise had recently started what she called a neighborhood modernization initiative, which honestly was just a fancy way of saying she wanted complete control over how every house looked. First, people tolerated it because the rules seemed harmless. Then she banned decorative flags, then lawn ornaments, then custom mailboxes, then wine chimes, because apparently sound personality was also dangerous now, but everything exploded when the HOA officially banned yard art, claiming it created visual inconsistency and distracted from neighborhood harmony. That phrase became Denise's favorite excuse for everything. Now here is the thing about me, I build interactive exhibit. Props as a hobby, nothing dangerous, nothing illegal. Just weird creative projects for local events, escape rooms and science fairs. So when Denise banned yard art, my brain immediately started thinking about loopholes, because technically the new rule prohibited decorative sculptures, statues and visual installations. But it said absolutely nothing about functional objects. That detail became very important later. One evening, while sitting in my garage workshop staring at old electronics equipment, I found a giant industrial red push button left over from an exhibit project years ago. The second I saw it, an idea formed instantly. Simple, clean, impossible to ignore, a waist high. Pedestal, a large red button on top, and one sign, "Do not push." That was it. No explanation, no decoration, no artwork description, nothing technically artistic at all, just curiosity weaponized into suburban chaos. The next weekend I installed it carefully near the front edge of my yard, fully within HOA guidelines for placement, height and safety regulations. The pedestal looked sleek, modern, and almost official, like something you would see in a science museum, and sitting right on top was that giant, shiny red button, practically begging people to touch it by lunchtime. The entire street was talking about it. Kids stopped their bikes near my lawn dog walkers, slowed down while staring cars rolled past twice just to look again, and every single person reacted the exact same way. They wanted to push the button immediately. Now, here is the funny part. The button itself did not do anything harmful. It triggered a hidden speaker system connected inside my garage that played a dramatic movie trailer-style voice saying, "Warning, curiosity has consequences," followed by over-the-top explosion sound effects and flashing lights from hidden LEDs around the yard, completely harmless, completely ridiculous, and unbelievably effective. The first person to press it was a teenager walking home from school. The second, the warning voice. Blasted across the yard, he jumped backward so hard he almost fell into a bush. While his friends laughed so loudly, half the street came outside to look. Within hours, people were lining up just to experience it. Neighbors who barely talked to each other suddenly stood around laughing, waiting for someone else to push the button. Kids loved it. Parents secretly loved it more. Even delivery drivers started slowing down to look at it, and standing across the street, watching this entire circus unfold. With pure anger on her face was Denise. She marched over before sunset, already holding her clipboard like a weapon. The moment she reached my lawn, she demanded to know what exactly this installation was supposed to be. I calmly explained it was not. Yard art. It was a functional, interactive curiosity experiment. That answer nearly broke her brain. She pointed at the pedestal and said it was clearly decorative. I reminded her politely that the HOA rule specifically banned non-functional artistic displays, and this button had an interactive purpose. She actually stood there speechless for a second, because she realized I followed the wording of the rule exactly. That only made her angrier. Over the next few days, the button became neighborhood legend. Someone posted it online and suddenly people from nearby communities started driving through just to see if they were brave enough to push it. At one point, a food delivery driver pressed the button 3 times in a row while laughing hysterically. Even older residents who usually complained about noise secretly enjoyed watching reactions from their porches. The entire neighborhood suddenly felt alive in a way it had not for years. People talked, laughed, stayed outside longer, and actually interacted with each other, and Denise absolutely hated it, because the more popular the button became, the weaker her authority looked one afternoon. She arrived with 2 HOA board members demanding immediate removal of the pedestal. I invited them to explain exactly which rule it violated. None of them could answer clearly. One board member actually admitted the object technically qualified as functional equipment because it produced an interactive response. I almost laughed watching Denise realize her own policy. Wording trapped her. But instead of backing down, she escalated further. She started issuing violation notices, claiming excessive public gathering around private property. That completely backfired, because now neighbors who previously stayed quiet started openly defending the button. One father argued his kids spent more time outside socializing because of it than they had all summer. Another resident said it created more community engagement than any HOA event in years. Even people who never liked me personally admitted the button made the neighborhood more enjoyable. Meanwhile, Denise became obsessed with stopping it. One evening, she actually tried covering the button with a trash bag while nobody was outside. Unfortunately for her, my security cameras caught everything. The next morning, I posted a screenshot from the footage onto the community social page with the caption, "Apparently curiosity has consequences for HOA presidents too." That image spread through the neighborhood faster than anything I had ever seen. People started joking about the button constantly. Someone even left a toy hard hat beside it with a note saying "Emergency Anti-Fun Response Team." At that point, Denise completely lost control of the narrative. Instead of looking like a serious HOA leader, she became the villain in the funniest neighborhood story anyone had seen in years. Then came the annual HOA community meeting. And honestly, I expected tension. What I did not expect was half the neighborhood wearing homemade red button stickers on their shirts. The second Denise started discussing community appearance standards, people immediately interrupted, asking whether functional curiosity devices were now officially protected under HOA guidelines. The room exploded. With laughter, even some board members struggled not to smile. Denise tried regaining control by arguing that the button encouraged disruptive behavior, but that only made things worse because everyone knew the disruption she hated was simply neighbors having fun together. Then an older resident stood up and said something that changed the whole atmosphere. He said this neighborhood used to feel cold and silent, but for the first time in years, people are outside talking to each other again because of one stupid red button. And honestly, he was right, because what Denise never understood is communities are not built through control. They are built through shared moments, even ridiculous ones. By the end of the meeting, the HOA quietly dropped all violation attempts connected to the button because legally they had no real argument left. And after weeks of fighting, Denise finally walked out, realizing she lost a battle against a single object with 2 words written beside it: "Do not push after." The HOA dropped the complaints, the button became a permanent neighborhood joke, and people kept stopping by just to test their curiosity. Even visitors from nearby communities came to press it and hear the dramatic warning sounds, while kids laughed from the sidewalks. Denise stopped mentioning yard art completely, because every time she did, someone in the meeting would ask if they were allowed to push the button first. The funniest part was realizing one harmless red button brought the neighborhood together more than years of HOA events ever did. If you enjoyed this story from Karen's Stories Daily, then like, subscribe and comment below and tell me, honestly, would you have pressed the button or walked away?